Okay, let's be real. Every artist out there tells you just practice and your style will come. But guess what? That's the boring answer. Yes, it's true, but you didn't click on this video to hear that again. You clicked because you're stuck. If you want your art style to have a specific look, you can't just wait for a happy accident to happen. You need to be intentional with that practice. Your art style won't magically appear out of nowhere. You've got to practice in a way that's designed to create the look you want. In this video, I'm going to break it down step by step so you can stop feeling stuck and start creating the artwork that you're proud of. I'm not just going to talk about how to find your style. I'm going to show you how to use this formula in a real life example. And to make it even easier for you, I've put together a free step-by-step workbook that you can download in the description now. It's packed with exercises and prompts that you can follow along and start defining your art style today. If you're not new to this channel, you might be thinking, you've got your art style, you've got a distinct look to your illustrations. Over the years, I have developed a style that I use for my illustrations. But here's the thing, I've just started working on my first children's book. It's been a dream of mine for years, but I've been putting it off because my current style doesn't really go with the vision that I've got for this children's book. That's why I'm using this project as an example of how to find your art style. And this formula that I've created isn't just for children's books. It can be applied to any kind of art that you want to create. Step 1. Finding inspiration. The first step in finding your art style is about gathering inspiration, but I don't mean just mindlessly scrolling through Pinterest or Instagram. You need to approach it with intention. For me, I'm starting with 4 children's books that I love. But I'm not just looking at these books, I'm studying them. I'll link all of these books in the description below so you can check them out yourself. As I go through each piece of art, I'm writing down 1 to 3 specific things that I like about it. Is it the way they do their line work, the textures they use, or maybe the color palette? If you're searching online, I'd really recommend limiting yourself to a small number of artists. If you gather too many different art styles, it can get pretty overwhelming and you'll start to lose focus of what really stands out to you. When you write down your observations, make sure to note down which piece of artwork you're referring to. It will make things so much easier later on when you're analysing your notes. This step is all about being specific. It's not about copying, it's about defining what stands out to you. Maybe in one piece of artwork, the character is really expressive, someone else might use really intricate line art, then a third person might paint with really bold, strong colours. As you gather inspiration, try to look for common threads between what's catching your eye. Maybe you're drawn to soft, muted colours or bold, graphic lines. Identifying these patterns will help you start to see what resonates with you, and that's the foundation of your unique style. Step 2. Defining your style elements. Now that you've gathered inspiration and studied the key features that stand out to you, it's time to start defining your style. Think of this step as the blueprint of your art style. It's about deciding what elements are essential to your art piece. First of all, take a look back at the notes you've written down. This is your opportunity to choose which elements you want as a central part of your art style. Here's where people get overwhelmed though, myself included. You might have written down that you love the detailed line art in one of the pieces, but the artwork with no line art also catches your eye. Conflicting, right? If that happens to you, what I want you to do is think about the actual process of creating your art. Do you even enjoy drawing line art? The process of creating your art has to feel as good as the finished piece. Okay, here's where you take some more action. From your notes, now write down 3 to 5 key elements that you really want to include in your style. Remember, you're not locked into these elements forever. As you grow as an artist, your style and skill level will evolve. But for now, focus on these core elements as a foundation. You might also need to have a little think about the tools you need. If there's a particular look you're trying to achieve, you might need a specific tool like a new brush pack, maybe watercolor paints instead of acrylic, or something entirely different to what you normally use to create your art. My main takeaways are that I love an artist that uses warm, earthy tones, so maybe that will become a signature part of my children's book style. Generally, I'm drawn to pencil-like textures, so I definitely want to make this a fundamental part of my style. Line art is something I always do in my work. But for children's books, I'm drawn to styles without line art. So for me, that is the biggest change in my style. Okay, so now that you've got this really defined list of key elements, it's time to test them and see how the process can actually work for you. To really show you how these notes can create an impact on your art style, I'm going to draw my main character, Herbert the Dragon, in my usual style, not my new desired one. This is just my normal approach and what feels most natural. Then I'll take the notes that I gathered from my inspiration and I'm going to draw the same character, but this time I'm going to let my notes guide my decisions. It'll be interesting to see how the elements I've chosen show up in this artwork and if it's something I want to continue with. Okay, so I've already learned a few things from this exercise. When I was drawing the main character in my usual style, I found it really easy. If you've watched any of my Draw With Me videos, you'll know that I have a specific system that I use to create my illustrations. It's something I've done over and over for the past few years, so it just came naturally. But that doesn't mean that I want this to be the style for my children's book. When it came to the new style, I found it a bit more challenging to get the look that I was going for. I ended up creating multiple layers and got a little bit confused and overwhelmed trying to figure out how to actually bring the artwork to life. But I absolutely love the finished piece, which brings me on to step 3, finding a system and process for your new art style. Now that you've figured out a style that you want to work in, it's time to turn it into a repeatable process that you can use to create your artwork with ease. This is where practice really comes into play. When I tested out this new art style, it took me triple the usual amount of time to complete. If you've got the luxury of time to experiment, then that's great. But as a busy mom of 3 tiny humans and someone that creates art for a living, I need to be at least a little bit efficient with my process. So what do I do now? I need to practice. I need to draw in this style enough times to figure out a process that works for me. If you're a digital artist like me, think of the layers as the stages of your drawing process. The goal is to streamline those stages so that you're not overcomplicating things.
Keep it stupid simple.
For example, in my usual art style, I've got several stages. There's the sketching stage, refined sketch, line art, color draft, flat color, cell shading, and lighting. That is the order that I do. For this new style, I've looked through all the layers and realized I can condense it into 8 key steps in a specific order. Of course, these are going to differ depending on your style and process, but the point is to break it down into digestible steps that you can repeat without overcomplicating things. So after working out your process, go draw another piece of art. This is exactly what I meant when I said you need to be intentional with your practice. You won't develop an art style without practicing. But if you're practicing without a clear process, it's going to take even longer to get the results that you want. It's about finding elements from your desired style, creating a process that makes it easy to draw, and then practicing from there. Step 4, stop the self-doubt. So you've followed the steps to discover your art style and you've created a process that works for you. But there's something I want you to understand. It's totally normal if you feel disappointed with your artwork at this stage. You might not, which is amazing, but it's easy to look at the artwork that you've created and feel like you're not quite there, especially when we live in a world of instant gratification everywhere. We want things to be amazing right now, but finding your art style takes time. And that's where the practice comes in. By following this exact process, I can confidently say that my skill level has improved drastically in a short amount of time. And that's because I was practicing consistently, but focusing on the same technique over and over. The power of focused practice. Before I found my style, the one that you might know me for, I was jumping around, trying a bit of everything, hoping something would stick. But the truth is, without focus, my progress wasn't as fast as it could have been. When you're constantly switching things up without committing to one approach, you're not giving yourself the chance to really improve. The key to evolving your style over time is practicing the same methods and processes. You don't have to get it perfect straight away, but by sticking with it, you'll definitely see an improvement. That's how style develops. It's in the repetition. Stay on course. Take a look at hyperrealism. Do you think they achieved this skill level by jumping around between different drawing styles? Probably not. They drew the same way over and over, getting better every time. If they doubted their ability every time they deviated away from their desired style, they'd never get to where they are today. So don't let yourself fall into the trap of comparison or instant dissatisfaction. If you don't feel like your work is a masterpiece just yet, don't throw in the towel. The more you practice within the framework that you've built for your art style, the more your skills will evolve and improve. Step 5, take action. Now that you've gone through the process of how to find your art style, practice intentionally, and overcome self-doubt, the journey doesn't end there. The next step is to stay committed. Continue to refine your style as you grow as an artist. To help you with that, I've put together a free workbook that will walk you through the entire process of finding your art style step by step. It's designed to help you stay on track and avoid feeling overwhelmed as you continue to evolve your art. So if you're ready to move forward and turn these insights into actionable steps, download my free guide now by clicking on the link in the description below, and subscribe to my channel for more valuable art videos.